That's unfortunate for you, but it was fortunate for me and Rodney and the rest of us that knew Kevin. And he was, I don't know how to describe Kevin, he was just a good guy. I mean, that's the way I can put it. I met Kevin doing some trail work, I don't remember even where. But for about 4 years, every time I go to a trail function, there was Kevin. He would just appear out of nowhere. And he's one of these people that didn't talk a lot, but he worked really hard. You didn't have to ask him to do anything, he would just jump right in and go do it. And I could go on about Kevin for an hour here, but I'm not gonna do that. But for example, when we put the railings around the tower here, been 3 years ago, something like that, and I lose track of time as well. We needed volunteers to help carry this stuff up here. We needed volunteers to do the work. Fortunately, we got a bunch of young guys from the boys' home in Covington that wanted to carry up soggy 2x6s up here, and they were young and energetic, and it got to become a race to see who could get a 2x6 up here quickest, which suited me just fine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I had to carry a 1 that day. I was glad. We were toting the boards back and forth. Kevin, Doug Wood, a couple of others, we got to start doing the work. And I'm gonna back up just a minute. Charlie Cale told me to tell you all this story about Kevin. That particular morning, Kevin got to the parking lot down there, and he asked me, he said, "Do you need any tools?" And I'm thinking, I've got enough tools. I brought a lot of tools up here beforehand. And I said, "Kevin, now we should have everything we need." And I had some Milwaukee tools, 18-volt battery things, and for sawzall and drills and that kind of stuff. So we came up here, and Kevin got to looking around, and he said, "You don't have a circular saw?" I said, "No, I don't have a circular saw." He said, "Well, I got one in the truck." And we had just got up here, and you know, when I make a trip up here, I'm done for a while. And Kevin says, "I'll go get it." Well, that's what you want to do, Kevin. I mean, it'd be nice to have. You know, we can get by with this, but if you feel like running down and get it, fine, go ahead. And he literally ran back down the trail. That's where he run into Charlie. That's where Charlie first met Kevin, was on the trail. And Kevin and Charlie talked for just a minute, and Kevin told Charlie, he said, "Well, I'm going back to the truck to get a saw." And he came back up here. And Charlie was telling me that was his first experience with Kevin. And that's the kind of guy Kevin was. He'd walk the trail all the way up here, turn around, and then run back down to get his saw to help us. And to add to that story, that was on a Saturday, and we started working on the tower here, trying to get the railings up, and we found out we had some boards along the perimeter underneath that were rotten that we needed to attach the railings to. So we were short some timber to do the work. So now this project that was supposed to be done on Saturday was gonna have to go into Sunday because we ran out of daylight. So I'm like, what now? What am I gonna do? Because I know Rodney had things to do on Sunday, and everybody else had something to do on Sunday. And here it was, Brian's gonna have to go back up there and finish this because we can't leave it with blank spaces in the handrail. So Kevin realized what was going on too. And Kevin said to me, he said, "I'll come back tomorrow and help you." You know, I was like, "That'd be great, Kevin." I said, "But you know, it was supposed to be a Saturday thing. We were supposed to get done." I said, "But if you will, that'd be great." And I offered to said, "You come on home with me and you stay at the house." He said, "No, I'll just stay in the tower." I said, "Well, okay, just stay in the tower. I'll bring breakfast in the morning. I'll bring biscuits." He said, "Okay." Well, we hadn't hardly finished saying that, and then some people showed up that were going to camp in the tower that night. And so that Kevin said, "I'll just go camp somewhere else." So the next morning, shortly after daylight, here comes Kevin, right back up here. I had the biscuits, we went back to work, him and I went back to work. We finished it up, and literally I don't know what I would have done without Kevin, because I couldn't have done it myself. And but Kevin was one of these kind of people that you didn't have to ask him to do anything, and he he wasn't one that even had the kind of guy to do it, and he was one step ahead of me all the time. Always ready to go do this, go do that. And he wouldn't quit. And like, I've been up here for 2 days now, and I'm tired. I've carried all this stuff up here back and forth, and we had to clean up the mess out here. So, anyways, I said, Kevin, we'll just throw it over the hill. I said, it's all rotten wood. It's natural. It's just gonna rot away. He said, well, I can't throw it far enough. I said, well, if you look down here, there's nothing but briar bushes and brambles. He says, Kevin says, you throw it down to me, and then I'll throw it down the hill farther. I said, if that's what you want to do. So that's what we did. That's how we got rid of the old scrap wood and stuff, and it's down there deteriorating now, and it's helping nourish these trees that are surrounding us. That's just the kind of guy Kevin was. I mean, I didn't know him that long, but long enough, I guess, to know the kind of individual he was. Geez, I don't know what else I can really. There's so much I could go on and on and on. But it's one of those things. I didn't know him long, but he made a big impression in a short period of time. And Kevin was the kind of person that he led by example, not by word of mouth. You know, he was not one to boast. I didn't really know him personally. I mean, I didn't know about his childhood or anything like that. I knew he had a connection with the church and all that. And we talked about that some, you know, during our hikes. We've had other places and up here and stuff. But it's just nice as you go through life, meeting people like that. So anybody else want to tell Kevin's story? Maybe you can elaborate better than I can.
We had a few things that, a few people that came out or couldn't come out to us, and they wrote some things for me to say up here. This one, first person that sent me was Rick Handlebar Austenheimer. He's been a trail volunteer for quite a few years, well, at least 5 or more. But he's been out with Kevin for quite a few of these events. But he said, what I'll say about Kevin is that he was a gentle soul, and he had an aura about him. It's as if in the few times I've met him, I'd met a living saint. I think that's why his untimely death had such an effect on those who had the privilege to meet him. And only the good die young. That was from Handlebar. And Doug Wood, he said, very soon after I met Kevin, I could tell he was the type of person that dedicated himself to causes he believed in and worked quietly and diligently without expectation of praise for accomplishing jobs well done. His happiness came from serving higher purposes than self-promotion. We volunteers of the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association were privileged and blessed to have him on board, even for just a short while. Kevin's work made the Allegheny Trail a better place to engage with the natural world. And Joe Kelly, he was a Section 3 coordinator. Right, he got a job with the Forest Service. He's not been able to come out as much now. I think he did a lot of work with Kevin, me and Joe as well. But Joe said Kevin was one of a kind. He never had a bad word about anyone or anything. He truly had an aura about him, like he truly was at peace with life, the world, everything. Really, he was a hard worker, expecting nothing in return. Would give the shirt off his back or give up his last dollar. He was an outstanding carpenter. His attention to detail was second to none. He put the miles down like no one I know, and not even looked like he hiked a 20-mile day. The night I heard you were gone from this earth, I felt sadness knowing I'd never work or hike with you again. But then I thought if there's trails in heaven, I'm sure Kevin has already through hiked them all. And I had a few people, they weren't able to get me what they said, but I had about 3 other people who were wanting to send something, but they couldn't make it. But I mean, I didn't know Kevin is for really the last year is when I really started to get to know him more, and especially the last fall, he was a really big part of helping on my section. He helped clear a lot of Section 4 North with me. I mean, he showed up, we camped together, and I think one of the last events he worked on was actually, we hiked from the Fire Tower Road just down here, we hiked all the way to Salt Sulphur Turnpike, about, I think it was about 8 mile day. I mean, that was a hard day, we were exhausted at the end of that, and he was a sawyer that day, and I mean, he kept on, he made sure to get every blowdown through there, because I mean, it's hard access, so he wasn't gonna leave till it was all done. So he was a big help there, and we had made plans throughout the year, this coming year, where my work schedule was kind of hard on weekends, so he was gonna be my assistant coordinator to work on. I gave him all these tools and everything for him to work on. He was gonna work, take over. He's gonna run the events for me basically during Saturday mornings or whenever I could. So he was gonna be a big part of Section 4, where he was close by. But I know he had a hand on every section of the trail. I mean, I know he did shelter remodels, Waddell, John's Camp. He's been all over the trail, multiple tread work jobs. Section 4 North, he went out by himself just in his spare time, and there was a bad section near the Grand Shelter that it was a lot of digging through there, and he made it look like a highway through there. It was side hill just straight like that, and then before I come through there, he had about that much room, and I mean, he did it in about a weekend. So he kept himself, he did a lot of work for the trail. He was really, really great for everything he's done. So I know, I think it's maybe about a week or so before I got your all's email that I was on a Pinhoti hiking through there, and I was mentioning back and forth with him the Loblawny pines up through there. There's so many through there, and they're got some areas there where they're trying to regrow and all that. So we were messing back and forth. I think he was interested in coming down there and hiking that area. He was itching to hike. I could tell. I think it was I think it was the same time he was about planning something with Jay to hike around the same time. So I could tell he was itching to get out there and hike. So that was around about a week or so before. But I think that's about all I've got.
And I'd just like to add one thing. You know, it's a trail. It's just dirt, trees, rocks, a lot of rocks up here. But it's much more than that. It's becomes a way of life. And I'm speaking for myself. I came up here and started watching these birds. Now I've got Lynn doing it. I've got Charlie doing it. I got young people like Patrick doing it. It just becomes a way of life. It opens the world up to you that you just wouldn't know if it wasn't for this trail and this tower getting up here. One thing that we forgot to mention was the Far Out app. I mean, you've got these people that, and I'm not one of them, that hike the trails by their phone using the Far Out app. And you know, it's cutting edge stuff as far as trail navigating. I don't use it, but I know there's a lot of people that do. And it's, who did that? Why is the Allegheny Trail on the Far Out app so people can look on their phone? Because Kevin hiked the entire trail, charted it every mile of it out. And that's why we have the Far Out app. So I mean,
I can tell it's made a big difference. Once it got posted online, the recognition of the trail, I mean, it was crazy. We were getting, it wasn't just the digital they were wanting. I mean, once they saw they had it, I mean, a lot of people still like guidebooks. So, I mean, our guidebooks, people were buying digital books. I mean, that really got us, it really put the trail on the map. I mean, that Far Out app's all over the world, so they've got trails all over. So
you did that in 2019, wasn't it?
That
or was it 20?
It was 20, or no,
yeah.
21, I think, 20.
Yeah, it was
Did that.
right after he left, I think he came back from seminary and then I think it was before he went to Wyoming. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it took him about 27 days, because it's a long process having to do, I mean, I think he threw like it really maybe 11 or 12 days when he first hiked it.
Yeah.
But to stop and waypoint while doing the track and adding all the descriptions.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of waypoints and such just on the trail work. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But doing it from scratch, I mean,
Yeah.
I plan to go through there this next year and through hike it again to keep on adding, because I mean, you can go through there one time, there ain't no way you can get it all in one go.
Right.
He's got so many on there, I don't know how I can tell why it took him 20 some days to do it, because it was thorough. So I'm gonna keep on making improvements on that and work on getting, because we're gonna consolidate that with our next 5th edition guidebook, so all the miles match up, so I mean, that's gonna go lasting for a long time. All that work is gonna last for years.
Once again, it all goes back to getting people outside in nature, enjoying this earth we have.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a far out app or whatever it takes, I think the world would be a better place if more people did that. Instead of sitting home watching TVs and they're looking at their phones and all that stuff. Come out here in the real world and look at what we have in this country. I give that speech all the time to young people up here. Ronnie's probably heard it 1,000 times. First thing I'll ask them is, who owns this tower? And they all look at me like, well, what's that guy asking me that for? And I'll point to them and say, well, you own this tower, you own this tower, and you own this tower. This tower belongs to the United States government, and you are the government. This is National Forest land. And then I borrowed a quote from Woody Guthrie. This land is your land. And it's important that these people know that and treat the land with respect. And, we're fortunate to have this in this country, and a lot of people don't realize that. I'll talk to people from other countries, and I'll ask them, like, what is the thing that you enjoy the most about your time in the United States? I had a supervisor I worked with in Michelin. He was from Scotland, which you'd think Scotland's a beautiful country, but he had a 5-year work visa. He was here for the 5 years, and every weekend he was going somewhere on a trip, whether it was a national park, national forest, somewhere he was going. And we were having this going away party. I asked him, I said, what's the thing that impressed you the most about living in this country for this past 5 years? He said, it's the parks. He said, it's the forests. He said, we don't have places like this in Scotland. He said, to go to a national park or a national forest in Scotland, you have to be wealthy. He said, here anybody can do it. It makes me stop and think. And I try to relay that message to these young people and old people as well, that we're really fortunate to have this in our country, and to have people like Kevin get out here and work on it and open it up for people. That's what a trail is. The trail is just an opening to get out in nature. That's all it is. And Kevin was one of the people that provided that opening for people, and for that I'm grateful. What more could you ask for?
So hundreds of hours he put toward us through years. I mean, it was a lot of time. I mean, the shirts he's made. I mean, a lot of the designs. This was a lot. I know there was a design a little bit looking like this, but he did a lot of this. This is pretty much his design. So all the stickers and stuff. So he's made a big difference
In a short period of time.
Well, y'all know that he was a very spiritual kind of person. He was very close to church and spirit, and I'm sure many of y'all saw was it a 3 or 4 minute YouTube video that he made up? We hadn't seen it until after his passing, but it talked about the need to get out of the regular world and get to a quiet spot where you could hear your Lord and Savior talking to you. And he found that coming out here was his quiet time, wherein he could actually commune with God and with nature. So he just But it's a really great video. It's like, this was intense or so.
And he could see that in people, like when I was explaining to you how I met him.
Yeah.
The trail saved my life, and he saw that in me, and we had a good, that night, Saturday, I can't remember what night it was, it might have been during the week, I can't remember, that we met. It was at Hawk Recreation Area. We had a long talk that night about spiritual, and I told him my life, you know, and he saw that, and what everybody's saying is he made a big effect on my life. I didn't know anything about the Allegheny Trail, and then when he saw my pack and told me what he did, you know, for the gut hook, now far out, you know, and I'm like, man, I want to hike the Allegheny Trail, and we planned on that hike. And I live 3 hours away from here, 3.5 hours away. When Justin had posted that this was going to be for Kevin, I said, I'll be there, you know, because Justin's invited me down here for other stuff, and it's a long drive to come down here just for like trail work and stuff like that. I want to do it, but when he said this hike was for Kevin, I said, I'll be there. You know, I had other stuff planned this weekend, but I knew I was coming down here because of Kevin, because he made such a great impact on everything. And when he was saying about he was itching to go hiking because we were right by the Tuscarora Trail, and I told him I through hike the Tuscarora Trail, and he's like, man, let's go walking. So the next day, after we got everything tore down, those two tents tore down, we went and just like did maybe 2 mile down and back, you know, on the Tuscarora Trail. He's like, man, this is a cool little trail. So it's like he was itching, and then he told me that what he was going to be doing, you know, going for, you know, being a pastor and everything. And I'm like, that's so awesome. You know, that's you. And I didn't know he had passed away until this year, you know, at Trail Days. I ran into Justin, and there's this guy, you know, that did the far out, and he said, Kevin. I'm like, yeah, whatever happened to him? You know, because we had been messaging each other and, you know, planning to do this section hike, and I never heard from him again. And he goes, well, he passed away. I'm like, oh, it hit me right here, because he was such a big impact.
You never know. Was he a 33, 34?
33 and a half. Yeah.
So I'm 33 right now.
Somebody contacted me here a while back and asked me if Kevin was a Catholic priest. I said, I know he'd been to the seminary, and I've seen pictures of him with the white collar. I said, I don't know if he's a Catholic priest officially or not. I said, and I don't really care. It doesn't matter. I didn't know what kind of an individual he was. And, you know, I'm not a big religious person. I think sometimes religions are counterproductive because they tend to feud amongst themselves and they lose the big picture sometimes. That's just my opinion here. But he was a godly man, I guess would be one way to put it. He knew right from wrong. He knew what, you know, and I'm sure you're a big part of that, as most parents are, you know, and it's rightly so. But he wasn't the kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say, he's not the kind of person that would flaunt his religion and try to push it off on you. He just guides you in the right direction. And it didn't matter if you were Lutheran, Catholic, Protestant, whatever, it didn't really matter. As long as we're all headed in the right direction, that's what really counts in the bottom line. And Kevin was that kind of guy. And once again, that's my opinion, but that's the way I took him.
I just had wanted to say this picture is 10 days before Kevin passed away, and a few days before he passed away, he was up skiing, and then like the day before he went on the
March for Life.
march into DC.
Yeah.
So he was active right until
Right to the end. Yeah. During the year after his passing, we we would receive regular, bulletins or brochures from, they were called care notes, that they were sent to us by Abbey Caskets. And, the one year was especially good because it kind of said, we have to recognize that our lost one is now in heaven. We believe that. And he's doing fine. And he understands that life goes on down here on earth. And as life goes on, we will have a natural tendency to forget those who have passed on. But it's important for us to continue to tell the stories, continue to remember those who have passed. And by doing that, that fulfills all of their wishes. You know, if they had a characteristic that you thought was impressive, emulate it. You know, that way their memory and their purpose for being on earth is not forgotten. So this is wonderful. We thank you.
Don't thank us. It's Kevin. It's Kevin, he's with us right now. You know, and that's all there is to it. I mean, he was a friend of ours. We recognize our friends, and we enjoyed our time with him, and sure we miss him, but we just have to go on and like you said, emulate Kevin. I mean, like I said earlier, he was a leader by example. You know, he wasn't the kind of person to push you, but you try to keep up with him. And fortunately, we have some people in the Trail Association involved with this tower. They're the same way. They just, you know, they want to see it go on, keep things going. And Kevin, I'm sure, I know for myself, he'll be with me the rest of my days, one way or another. But it's kind of like that wind we hear out there. You can't see it, but you know it's there. And it's the same way with Kevin. And there's been a lot of people in my life like that, and I've been fortunate to have people like that in my life. And I don't know why at 33 Kevin had to pass away like that. Maybe it's as a reminder for the rest of us to appreciate every day we have. In 2018, I started up this trail we just walked on. I got about 40 yards up the hill, had this terrible chain on my chest. I think this is not good. I couldn't breathe. I turned around and went back. My wife took me to the hospital, and I had double pulmonary embolisms in both my lungs.
Wow.
But it wasn't my day. You know, I was twice Kevin's age.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my day. And there's a line in an old Johnny Cash song about San Quentin. I've seen him come and go, and I've seen him die. And long ago, I stopped asking why. And I guess maybe that's we all need to ask. Just quit asking why. It is what it is. I mean, I know that's a click phrase, but
Yeah.
you know, it's true. And so I guess we just have to enjoy the days we have and the friends we have, and go on.
One thing I've learned from is it's spiritual, but it's not spiritual, is live every day to your fullest, because it could be your last.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes.
And the other thing I want to say is, even though they passed, they're never forgotten.
Yeah.
An old Civil War, I was a Civil War reenactor for over 20 years. I've studied history. There's a letter that a Civil War soldier wrote home to his wife. He was a part of the New Hampshire unit. He said, if I'm killed on the battlefield, don't think of me as forgotten. When the wind blows, think of me as hugging you. You know, if a leaf falls on you, I'm dropping a leaf on you. And I've lost everybody in my family, and that's what I think about every time the wind, the rain. I think it's them saying, "Hey, we're here with you." So just remember that. You know, Kevin's always here with you guys. He's here right now.
He wanted us to see the area here with the fog. We never would have come on a day like
You know, I have a lot of stories to tell, and I'm gonna tell one more. Right there where you're sitting, I came up here one time with a dear friend of mine that grew up here in Monroe County and had never been to the tower. Super nice guy. And, we sat here for 3 hours. He sat right there where you're sitting, and I sat over there and just talked back and forth. We never saw a bird. We never saw the owl, I don't think. And he died 2 months later. And today, one of my best experiences at the tower was that day in the fall. I mean, I've been up here and seen some beautiful sunrises. I've watched some beautiful birds fly by here. I've had a lot of great days up here, but that one was right up there at the top of the list. And it's just simple, you know, just sitting here talking back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess you count your blessings. Sometimes you don't even realize they are blessings at the time, but they are. That's all I can think of. You can listen to me ramble out for days, but I think I got my point across.
Once again, this is a wonderful, it's a wonderful appreciation for him, and it does us great joy to know that he's being remembered, you know.
Yeah, anytime anybody uses that far out app or sees some of the work on these trails, I mean, Kevin had a hand all over it. Section 1 all the way to Section 4. He's been part of it, through hiked it twice, so he's definitely part of it.